Every step burned. His lungs screamed. His arms shook. But he never stopped. When he reached the emergency room, drenched and gasping, the nurses froze. "Help! She's hurt," he shouted. They rushed forward, recognizing the woman instantly. "That's Isabella Grant," one nurse whispered, the city's famous millionaire businesswoman, known for her power, beauty, and heart of stone. Ethan had no idea who she was. He just stood there, breathing hard, as doctors wheeled her away. His clothes clung to him, soaked and muddy. The hospital staff asked him questions, but he brushed them off, only caring if she'd live. Hours passed. Finally, a doctor came out. "You saved her life," he said quietly. "If she'd arrived a minute later, she wouldn't have made it." Ethan nodded, relief flooding him. "That's all that matters," he murmured, and left silently. He didn't leave his name. 2 days later, in a penthouse across town, Isabella woke up. Her memory was hazy, but she remembered a face, not clearly, but enough to haunt her. Rough hands, kind eyes, a man's voice shouting through the rain. She asked the nurses who had brought her in, but they didn't know. "Some man, soaked to the bone," one said. "Didn't wait for thanks." Isabella had everything: money, fame, a mansion overlooking the city, but that night something shifted inside her. She couldn't forget the warmth of those arms, the desperation in that voice. For the first time in years, she felt human. Meanwhile, Ethan went back to work. His co-workers joked about how tired he looked, but he didn't tell anyone about the accident. He just needed the extra pay to buy his daughter a new pair of shoes. 2 weeks later, a sleek black car stopped outside the construction site. A woman in a white coat stepped out, her heels tapping against the concrete. Workers stopped and stared. Isabella Grant, the millionaire herself, had arrived. Her eyes scanned the crowd until they landed on Ethan, his face dirty, hands rough, sweat on his brow. The night had fallen heavy over the small town of Ravensbrook. The streets were slick with rain, streetlights flickering weakly through the downpour. A man in a faded brown jacket pushed an old bicycle through the puddles, one hand clutching a paper bag filled with cheap groceries, milk, bread, and a few apples. His name was Ethan Cole, a 32-year-old single father who worked double shifts at a construction site and spent his nights helping his daughter, Lila, with her homework. His life was simple, quiet, and full of struggle, but it was also full of love. Ethan's wife had died 5 years ago during childbirth, leaving him with Lila and a mountain of medical debt. He never complained, never gave up. Every morning he woke before sunrise, packed Lila's lunch, kissed her forehead, and promised her that one day their life would change. But that night, fate had other plans. As Ethan walked home, he heard the screech of tires and a sudden crash echoing through the rain. His heart jumped. He turned toward the sound. A sleek black car had slammed into a streetlight on the corner. Steam hissed from the hood, and through the shattered windshield, Ethan could see a woman slumped over the steering wheel. Without thinking, he dropped his bag and ran. "Miss. Can you hear me?" he shouted, pulling the car door. It was jammed. The smell of gasoline filled the air. The woman inside stirred faintly, elegant clothes, diamonds, and blood on her forehead. He didn't know who she was, but that didn't matter. The sparks from the engine made his stomach twist. If the car caught fire, she wouldn't make it. With a grunt, Ethan braced his shoulder against the door and pushed. Metal screamed, but it opened just enough for him to pull her out. She was unconscious, pale, and cold from the rain. He carried her in his arms, running toward his bicycle, but there was no way he could take her that way. So he did what any father who had known pain would do: he ran through the storm with her in his arms, toward the small-town hospital a mile away.